Today on Locked On Red Wings, Alex Lyon wills the Detroit Red Wings to 1 point in an overtime loss to the Edmonton Oilers.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the daily JAWWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scott is host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. A pretty straightforward episode in this one, guys. I mean, Red Wings got absolutely shelled by the Edmonton Oilers, yet Alex Lyon stood on his head, 40-plus save performance, almost a 50-save performance to get them an overtime point. That's the recap. I mean, what else do you need me to say besides Lyon is him? I mean, it was a straightforward game with straightforward results, I felt. So, obviously, we're going to break it down far more than that. But, I mean, if you want the TLDR, holy cow, Scotty, Alex Lyon is absurd right now.
Yeah, man, he's a dog. Unbelievable performance, obviously. The overtime goal was weird. I don't know what happened. Like, he dropped his stick. I don't really know what happened that caused that. That was kind of a weird situation there. Not really sure what happened, but I mean, certainly very far from putting any amount of blame on not getting 2 points on his shoulders. Phenomenal, and I don't know. They got outplayed. The better team won. I do think the Wings showed a little bit of fight. I think they had defensively. I'm sure we'll talk about. We were talking about it off air. I know. Just the types of shots that they were allowing, right? Like the Wings played hard, but as far as results go, the Oilers should have won in regulation, and on top of that, probably pretty comfortably in regulation. They were all over the place. They outshot you by a billion, and yeah, man, Alex Lyon was absolutely incredible. Even the 2 goals he allowed in regulation were one, he just couldn't find the puck. It was in a big body of people. It got kicked to the slot rather. And he just didn't see it, like genuinely just had found the back of the net. And that was the first time he had seen the puck since it left the circle. So that one, it kind of is what it is. And the other one was a huge defensive breakdown. So and that's Connor McDavid one-on-one. I'm not personally, I'm not going to pin that one too much against him. Prime Connor on a 1-on-0 breakaway in front of the net. Not too many goalies in really the history of hockey are going to come out on the winning side of that. So yeah, man, I mean, he was absolutely stellar. The first 2 periods were as good of goaltending as you'll see. And again, I want to give credit to the defense too. They allowed, and this is something we've talked about a lot this year, they allowed a high quantity of shots, but the quality of shots, I actually think in the first 2 periods, obviously the third they scored, and I felt like the defense kind of let up in the third, but in the first two periods specifically, I thought the defense played really well and didn't really allow too many high danger opportunities, and Lyon was incredible as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games that's kind of hard to gauge because they're getting caved in on shots, but the shot attempts are a lot closer than the actual shots show. Obviously, the Oilers ended up with like a 60% share by the end of the game. The third period for the Oilers, they were absolutely dominant at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
But in the first and second period, the Oilers walked away with 5-on-5 shots for 20-11 in favor of compared to the Red Wings. But the shot attempts were a lot closer than that, where they had 37, the Red Wings had 22. So like the Red Wings, and it was a 50-50 split in the second period and a 55-45 split in the first. So it's really hard to gauge exactly how good of a defensive performance it was, because on one hand, I agree with you that I feel they did a pretty damn good job of containing the Edmonton Oilers offense. Like you said, it was a high volume of shots against in this game. But if you pull up the heat map, which I don't know why I said if you'll pull up the heat map, I'll pull up the heat map because I'm the
I'll
one who
do it
has
if you
the
want me
tab
to.
open. You'll see right here, obviously they're taking shots from everywhere, but there's not a lot of areas in which the Oilers were just like there's a little bit of a dark blue in front of the net. I feel like that's always going to be the case because that's the high danger scoring areas. It's areas you're trying to get to, and a little light blue area at both dots. Other than that, it's green in the rest of the zone. So, yeah, it's really bad. And I'm not going to deny that you gave up 46, 47 shots on goal.
Absurd amount. Yeah.
Absurd amount. There's also the realization that you are a struggling defensive team playing against the most potent offense in the NHL with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on it. And you kept, for the most part, the high danger and the scoring chances to the outside. They were able to kick the shots outside the dots a lot more than they usually would.
And the ones that weren't were goals.
Exactly. And it is hard to praise how they played defensively with a straight face when you see the sheer amount of shots they faced.
You got outshot 47 to 17 or so. It was bad. I'm certainly not denying the quantity, but I mean, this is going to sound like a really weird statement, but this is about as good of a 47 shot against night as you could possibly get. You know what I mean? This is that there was not one concentrated area where they were constantly shooting. You push the puck to the outside a lot. There weren't very many high danger opportunities. And obviously the biggest factor was Alex Lyon. And that is something that again, for as much as, we're saying, they did better than maybe the shot total says, at the end of the day, this game, you don't get a point without Alex Lyon in that. He, as you said in the cold open, he willed them. He was put the team on my back type of performance. It was him over anything the defense did. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, his goals saved above expected in this game was 1.76. He made 44 saves on 47 shots against. I mean, Alex Lyon, it's kind of ironic, too. I mean, we did 2 episodes in these 3 days off centering on 2 specific players, really, Andrew Copp and Alex Lyon, and both players played a huge role in this hockey game. Yeah. Andrew Copp obviously broke his goalless drought of 20 games, but even outside of that, I thought he played a pretty damn good game in a game I wouldn't have expected him to as well. I will talk about the fourth line, but of course, Alex Lyon, we just had the conversation yesterday, can Alex Lyon be the starter for this team? He was hot. We are getting to that territory where a hot stretch, you're starting to get to the territory now in 13 games played where you have the conversation, is this hot or is this him? And I mean, after a 936 save percentage performance, I'm kind of, a little bit, to be honest.
It was kind of a bar. I liked it. Yeah, I think you should be. I do.
Is he hot or is this him? And I'm starting to, I'm riding the roller coaster a little bit right now, and I'm cautiously optimistic, but 13 games in, a 920 save percentage before tonight, now a 936 game that's going to just bolster a save percentage across those 13 games even more. I'm getting dangerously close to just saying he's him. And I was reminded today by a very faithful listener, who I had the pleasure of meeting, that Alex Lyon's on a 2-year deal because I said he was on a 1-year deal. And that is really reassuring, knowing because I think we have Husso for another year as well. I mean, if Husso ends up proving that he cannot be the guy, now you have Alex Lyon who can at least help split that time at the very least. You have at the very least a serviceable backup with Alex Lyon. And that's just me still being cautious in my approach to him, knowing that historically he will probably come down at some point. But with how well he's playing right now, I'm dangerously close to just jumping on that bandwagon and being, he's him. How can you not after a game like this, Scotty? He was just so good.
Yeah. He was phenomenal, man. Yeah. I mean, that's again, that is the whole point of this game, right? Well, the whole point, the point that you got that is the whole point of this conversation.
He was the whole 1 point.
Right. The 1 point in this game, quite literally, was because of Alex Lyon. And again, like we said about the defense, we don't need to circle back into that. This was, at the end of the day, this was a almost 50 shot against performance that he willed you into overtime against and had a shutty through 2. Like that's preposterous. He has been unbelievable and continues to be. Yeah, man. I mean, he is him. He's a dog, but yeah, the future. We just had the future conversation, I guess, yesterday, but heck of a night for Lyon.
It was a good timing for that conversation by us too. Just pat ourselves on the back on that one. It's pretty impressive. So we got to take a break. When we get to segment 2, we will move on from Alex Lyon. Just holy crap, dude. Like,
nice save.
I almost did say
I'm aware. That was a close call, brother.
I almost said the S word. Would have made our sponsors very mad. But I saved it, so they're very happy still. And we're going to talk about one of those sponsors coming up here just before segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. So stay tuned.
Oh, you're really segueing it up today, huh?
I don't have a comeback to that. So let's talk about Sleeper. There goes the segue. You ruined it. It's almost the halfway point in the season. Actually, it is exactly the halfway point in the season after this game. That was 41 games in for the Detroit Red Wings, another 41 to go. And we've gone through the highs and the lows of this hockey team, riding a 4-game point streak right now after the overtime loss, coming out of a huge tailspin, the Detroit Red Wings are. And they're sitting right in the middle of a playoff race, just a point or two out of the final wild card spot. They're very much alive in it. And regardless of where they stand with those standings, I want to remind you guys that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is the #1 choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Connor McDavid, who had a goal in this game, unfortunately, Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, or so many. Ole Maatta. How about that? Ole Maatta with the big-time goal. I had him on my bingo board. Will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Red Wings fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty, where do you want to go from here? Obviously, we can talk about the goals that happened for the Red Wings, the goals that happened against the Red Wings. I also have down on here, the penalty kill still flawless in the last 10 games. And the fourth line, of course, I thought the fourth line played really well. Obviously rewarded with a goal, Andrew Copp was, but where do you want to go?
That's a good question. Let's talk about special teams just in general. I think we can kind of knock out the power play, but most importantly, the penalty kill in kind of one foul swoop there. Like the penalty kill has been phenomenal. Obviously, you have the ridiculous take. For whatever reason, you somehow think they're not going to allow a goal the rest of the season. But no, they've been great, man. They've been on a heater. And that's like when you look at the personnel that makes up the penalty kill, that is so many key acquisitions over this past offseason and the offseason prior, but specifically like this past offseason, you really addressed that in a big way. So I think that when we talk about the success rate or whatever of the offseason and the acquisitions we brought in, the penalty kill is a great place to kind of look at and be like, yeah, like this last offseason made a huge difference. So yeah, they're obviously on a huge heater. This is one of the most prolific offenses and power plays in the entire league, and they snuffed them out. And yeah, man, they haven't allowed a penalty kill goal, and I don't even know what the streak's at now, but
10 games, I think.
Yeah, that's a large sample size. That's impressive as heck. And then the power play, did they go 0 for tonight?
They
technically.
did, but that
Yeah.
first power play they had looked really good.
Yeah,
A lot
it
of
did. I
really good
agree.
passing, good
Well, it was
shot
just
attempts.
DeBrincat just missed. Like that was, yeah, he had a perfect setup. He just missed net.
That was the
But yeah,
big thing in the
I didn't
second
think the
period in
power
general.
play looked bad really the whole night. They had that weird 4-on-3, 5-on-4 one that kind of was just awkward all around. But yeah, man, I don't have too many complaints. I certainly don't have any complaints with the penalty kill, and I don't really on the power play either, even though they went over tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the penalty kill has been phenomenal lately. It's funny, early in the season, that was what was struggling, and the power play was so good. But the penalty kill coming into the night's game was 11th in the NHL after this 9-game heater. Now they're 10 games, I think, without a goal against. And I jokingly quote tweeted the NHL Network. They're like, oh, the Red Wings are on 9 games without a goal against on the penalty kill. Will they keep it up? And I jokingly was like, yeah, I think they'll go the last 41 games.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of people, for some reason, thought I was serious that the Red Wings were not going to give
You
up a
were
power play
serious.
goal for 40 games.
Can't
But I
believe
mean,
you think that.
this would have been the game to end that streak against McDavid and Draisaitl on the power play, and they didn't. Granted, the Oilers only had 2 opportunities, but the Red Wings still have to kill those off, and they did a great job. They didn't really give up any huge opportunities on those power plays. They've just been playing them really well. What I've really been liking about the penalty kill lately is they're not overcommitting, and sometimes that drove me nuts earlier in the season, where we'd play against teams that would be super aggressive on the penalty kill and force the Red Wings to make plays quicker than they would want to and create errors. But what they kept at it, and it's paying dividends now, in which they're being very patient. They're not overly chasing. If they're going to chase, they know they can get to the puck. They're making sure their sticks get in the lanes. They've just been very good on the penalty kill.
And Alex Lyon.
And Alex Lyon's been helping a ton with that as well. The power play, obviously didn't score like you said over, but that very first power play that they had, they were just inches away. And that was the thing too. That entire second period, I mean, like I said, shot attempts were even. They just couldn't hit the net. That second period, they just kept missing the freaking net. And that was what was driving me nuts. They only had 17 shots in this game, but if they hit the net, they'd have at least 25. And I know still that it's 47-25, but like at least 25 is a respectable amount of shots on goal. Yeah. Like there's a 30 shot differential in this game.
30.
And that's why
3-0, man.
And that's why it's so hard to really praise them for their performance in this game when you look at that statistic. But I mean,
yeah, again, make no mistake
I'm
about it. This was Alex Lyon getting them a point. Yes.
But in the end, yeah, special teams I thought was pretty good. I wanted, before we go any further, I guess this is a good time to talk about it. I said fourth line. I'm just getting confused because 2 days ago or 3 days ago when they played last, Copp was the center of the fourth line. Mm. Technically, they were the third line today. Christian Fischer, Rasmussen, and Andrew Copp. That was the line that I thought was really good. Obviously, again, the player we were talking about, and we were talking about how he's been underperforming this year. Not that one goal and one good game makes up for that, but he, for the first time in I think 20 games, he scored a goal. It was really nice. He picked up a loose puck after a puck battle along the boards. He circled back towards the middle of the offensive zone and took a ripper of a shot that beat Red Wings legend Calvin Pickard.
Captain Pickard, baby.
Blocker side, I think it was, or was that no? Yeah, blocker side. Blocker. So it was a good goal, and overall that line.
Rasmussen was good too. I know you praised the whole line, but him specifically.
And Christian Fischer had a really good opportunity down low.
Fischer almost scored, man. Yeah. That would have been my Super Bowl. That would have been my. I mean, I would have lost it. Yeah.
That third line was really, really good. There was only 17 shots generated in this game, but I feel like a lot of those opportunities were when they were on the line, when they were on the ice, which makes sense when you think about the construction of the Edmonton Oilers. They're very top heavy. Obviously, we've already listed the 2 guys, but like Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Evander Kane, like out once you get into that bottom 6, I mean, then you get guys like Adam Ernie, which no disrespect to Ernie, he's a dog, but I mean, yeah. I'm not going to say anything. That's where I'm going to end it because I don't want to disrespect the man.
Yeah. No, don't they have Gagne too? I think they have both of them.
Oh yeah, you're right. They have Sam Gagne as well.
Yeah, I think they got both the dogs over there. Yeah. Yeah, man. And then like a point that you brought up before we got on air that I think is a really fascinating one is that Seider was on the ice for almost all of McDavid's minutes. I think that's very far from unintentional, right? That's a great point that you brought up before we got on air here. And I thought Seider played a really solid game, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. He and Wollman blocked a couple of really tough shots. And he's coming into the game, he was 9th in the NHL in blocked shots. And he blocked a couple. I think he blocked one like right off his jockstrap in the first period from a Connor
Yeah.
McDavid shot. It's rough. And then he went down in the third period as well. Yeah. So the statistic exactly is Moritz Seider and Jake Wallman played, I think, let me look down here. They both played 13 minutes of 5-on-5 time against Connor McDavid. And Connor McDavid only had 18 minutes of 5-on-5 ice time. So they played over 2/3 of Connor McDavid's 5-on-5 ice time with him, matched up
That's a
against him.
stat.
That is a stat. And with Moritz Seider and Jake Wallman on the ice, Connor McDavid's Corsi for percentage was 65%. Still really, really good. But without those two on the ice, it was 80%. So they effectively took away 15% of McDavid's shot attempts when they were on the ice with him. So obviously, again, they couldn't stop him in the end. He got the goal, and that was a weird goal. It was like a change / offside / redirection. Next thing you know,
it was like a half of a second, maybe even less away from being offsides, and then it also got redirected off Fabry, maybe a Red Wings skate, and then it just happened to just catch McDavid in stride again, almost offside. Wallman was certainly not ready for it and was completely flat-footed. And when you go flat-footed against Connor McDavid, you're never going to win. I was going to say you're not going to win too often. You won't win that ever, actually. So, and yeah, man, just incredible finish, obviously, by the game's best. So,
yeah, and I mean, I feel like that's a little bit of a breakdown too. I mean, it was a bad timing on that change. Players were going to change at that time, and it was really weird. And it was a defensive breakdown on the second goal against two that I think Hyman scored. Like everyone was just down low. There wasn't a single guy in the high slot. Everyone was just collapsing down low because the puck was ping-ponging around and everyone was trying to get it. Next thing you know, like you said earlier in the show, it's just kicked out to the slot and Hyman buried it. Alex Lyon never saw it. So it's one of those things like just a couple of breakdowns. You fix those couple breakdowns and you win this game 1-0 with a 40 save shutout. Like it's an incredibly difficult thing to ask for. And I realize when I'm saying that, like mistakes are going to happen, especially when you're allowing 40 plus shots against in a game, but they're just, I wish Jake Wallman wouldn't have stopped skating when Connor McDavid got around him. I'm not blaming Wallman for that goal, but I wish he would have kept skating.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, like direction that he was headed wouldn't have benefited
the bounce
too terribly much either. That's between a rock and a hard place. Obviously, you don't want to be flat-footed ever if the play's still going on, and he was. But that would, even if he kept going the direction he was going, I'm not sure that would have helped him too terribly much. So
yeah, you're right. We'll take another quick reprieve, and when we return, we'll do segment 3, finish up any final thoughts we have on the game, and then preview very briefly 2 games this weekend, Toronto and LA. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Scotty, I know that we come here to talk about sports, get away from the realities of life, but it is flu season, and according to the FDA, it's one of the worst flu seasons we've had in a long time. And, getting sick sucks. But if you want to try and give yourself an advantage over getting sick, contact Jase and see if you can get a hold of one of their Jase cases. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to literally any of us. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. I don't know, Scotty. You got anything else? Anyone else you want to shout out in this game or any other Maatta?
Yeah, heck of a goal. Good job.
I
don't think so, man. Thought early the Oilers had a really, really aggressive and successful forecheck, which is the reason the Wings really got snuffed early on. So just trying to game plan against teams having that much success against you in the future would be nice. Now so making an adjustment there would be nice, but also they got a lot of speed. especially on the top. So that's kind of a part of the way they play. They're one of the hottest teams in hockey, etc. Yeah, I don't think anything else, man. Just shout out Alex Lyon, really. Like, again, we tried to paint the picture of the defense early and be like, like it was, almost 50 shots against, which obviously is not good, but like it could have been worse kind of thing. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters if Lyon isn't on his A game, and he was. So
yeah. And also, like you said, shout out Maatta. I mean, wild goal that the Red Wings scored.
yeah, heads up though, man. That's a hustle goal right there.
I mean, Lucas Raymond tries to center the puck for David Perron, who's crashing down low, gets redirected into Picard's 5-hole, then just sits on the blue line. Maatta literally one-handed just pokes it right across the goal line, and
we take that.
I mean, with 5 minutes left, I didn't think they were gonna score. It had been such a low-scoring game, and no one ever has Maatta on their bingo boards for a goal. And that's the crazy thing. You had the guy who hadn't scored in 20 games, and then you had the defenseman on your team who's most well known for being the defensive defenseman on your team with like no offensive upside. Like in a game with so little scoring and so little shots for, it was the two guys you expected the least on your offense and on your defense to scored these goals. Like you take it and you take the point. Like that's why I'm not pissed off, right? Like you'd think I'd come on here, Scotty, after a getting shelled 47-17 in shots, and I'd be like super upset. But Alex Lyon held them in there, and they had a shot to win it in overtime. They got to do better. I'm not happy that they gave up 47 shots against, but I don't know. It's the hottest team in hockey, and they're just clearly outplayed you, and you survived. Almost survived, at least.
You got a point.
So, you want to preview these games?
Yeah, man. I mean, the first one's against the Kings, who you just played. And they have been struggling mightily, to put it lightly, to be honest. They're on a huge skid. And you beat them once. That was one of the biggest wins, if not the biggest win on that West Coast roadie. And now you have a chance to play them in your own barn. Hopefully, history repeats itself.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all we can really hope for right here. They're as Scotty just pointed, they're on a massive skid. I think they've lost 7 in a row now.
They are on a L7 and are 2-4-4 in their last 10.
Yeah, they're just falling apart at the seams. They're on the East Coast on a lengthy road trip. It's your opportunity. Take advantage again. Beat the LA Kings, who are analytically one of the best across the season, twice while they're down. Steal 2 crucial points again, and then hope that you can go into Toronto the very next day and do it again. This is a gauntlet for the Detroit Red Wings, and we talked about it. You're officially halfway through the season. You're on the outside looking in terms of playoff picture, but just barely. You're still very much in the race.
Out after tonight.
Yeah, because Lightning won in overtime. So Red Wings got 1 overtime point. Lightning got 2. So you're 2 points out with 2 games in hand on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and you're 3 points behind the first wild card spot with no games in hand on the Philadelphia Flyers. You guys are tied in games played with 41. So, and I mean, if you're the Red Wings, that's what you're shooting for, wild card. Being in the Atlantic Division race was nice for a while, but you're starting to see a little bit of separation there. The Leafs have 5 more points. They got 50 points in 39 games played. That's 2 fewer than the Detroit Red Wings. So, I mean, obviously beating the Toronto Maple Leafs would be huge to help try and balance that out, get 2 huge points. It's basically like a 4-point swing if you really want to reach for it, because you get the 2 points they are not going to get. So, I don't know. It's a gauntlet. Every single game matters. Every single game you have to win. There are no more games that you can really afford to lose, but you're still very much in it. And let's be honest, wild card was likely going to be what the Red Wings were going to always be battling for. And it's what we predicted at the beginning of the season.
Hello?
Yeah, you're still here. Your screen froze, but you're here.
Oh, okay. Hey, what's up? I don't know what happened there. It froze on my end too, but it only for like half a second. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we already talked about the Kings a little bit, that you just played them, kind of similar mindset there. And then obviously Toronto, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, this Matthews guy. He's not bad. Yeah, he's almost goal a gaming, dude. Like I think he's got 33 and 38 or 34 and 38. He's been unbelievable this year. And yeah, this is a I don't know how they're going to be able to pay a full roster after this season. That'll be a fun little experiment. But yeah, man, this is obviously another prolific offense, and we'll see. They've gotten some decent goaltending lately, which has certainly helped a little bit as well. But this is always going to be one of the toughest teams in the league to face. And your January, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but your January is LA, Toronto, the Panthers, the Canes, the Lightning, the Stars, Flyers, Knights, Sens. That is your January. That is an absolute gauntlet. The one thing you do have going for you is you go LA at home, then you go on the road, Toronto, Florida, Carolina. Then you have a 5-game homestand to end January against Lightning, Dallas, Philly, Vegas, and Ottawa. So you at least are ending the month on 5 straight home games. But man, those are some tough opponents from here on out for the rest of the month.
Well, and you look at that, and the only quote-unquote cupcake team is the Senators, who are just absolutely...
Who are never a cupcake to you.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm building to, right? Like, they're even worse after firing DJ Smith. They're playing even worse hockey. But it's the Senators, and when these two teams face off, it's like the Stanley Cup final. Like, they play each other with all they got. So, like, you don't have a single easy game for all of January. Not that you did anything with the easy games you had in December. So, like...
Correct.
If you want
why those are important.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing, right, Scotty? Like this, if you want it, you got to win it. And this is the Red Wings' opportunity to prove that they want it. They got to get out of, after the abysmal December they have got to leave January with an above 500 record. They're off to a really good start. They're 3-0-1, but you have a lot more games left in this month to play before you can say with any certainty where this team's going to go in any direction. And like you said, the goaltending for the Leafs isn't that bad. Now, they've been splitting starts pretty evenly. 15 starts for Woll, 15 for Samsonov, and 13 for Martin Jones. Woll, been great.
Jones has had a crazy year. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Woll's got 916 save percentage. Martin Jones has a 928. Samsonov, obviously, as everyone knows, is having an abysmal year. Got waived, sent down to minors. Nobody picked him up. So goaltending's been good for once in Toronto's tenure. Their offense is as potent as ever. They're a wagon.
They're a wagon.
Oh, man. Not looking forward to that game. But we got to figure out, Scotty. Okay. I'm be candid, perfectly candid with the listener right now. Obviously, we are Locked on Red Wings podcast. I'm a Red Wings fan first. But you know what's happening an hour after puck drops against the Toronto Maple Leafs? You know this, Scotty.
Oh, the Lions?
The Lions kickoff.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll be honest with you guys. I don't know if there's going to be a Monday episode. Well, I have Monday off work because of MLK Day. So maybe we can record like during the day to recap the weekend.
Maybe, yeah. DVR that one, watch it the next morning.
Because I plan on thoroughly enjoying the first home Lions playoff game in my lifetime.
As you should. As will I. I'll be somewhere.
I don't think the network would appreciate if we record in our condition after.
I don't understand.
After the Lions game.
I'm not tracking.
You can connect the dots. I'll let the listener connect the dots on that one. So if there's a Monday episode, it will not be up at midnight. It might be up during the day. There are 2 games to recap. We will recap them either on Monday or it'll be our Tuesday episode. But either way, it will get done. So stay tuned for that. Scotty, you got any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode on Monday or Tuesday. So stay tuned for that.
Word.
Same time, same place. Your team every day.
Every day.
Where's my cursor?